Hey friends! Welcome to Spirit Club, a podcast and community that is all about doing the inner work to live an aligned and, dare I say, happy life. I'm your host, spiritual guide and intuitive, Angell Kelly, and I'm here to share my teachings along with messages passed on to me from higher consciousness. I've also got incredible guests in store to help you go down all those spiritual rabbit holes. So let's go! Welcome to the club! Welcome back, Spirit Club, and thank you for your patience as I took a break between season 1 and now, first episode of season 2. If you don't know already, I moved across the world, so I needed a hot minute to find myself again. And I don't know that I have found myself, but I've decided to get back to work, and I think that's going to help me just to ground in a little more. So today's guest, she radiates the energy that I am hoping to shift more and more into in my new Grecian life. I have today Josefina Barrio. She is a women's coach, an intuitive, of course, and a yoga and meditation teacher, amongst many things. She's multi-dimensional, multi-talented, and she helps women to reclaim themselves. So I think she has a lot of wisdom and medicine for all of us. I know many of us are struggling with bringing more of the feminine into our lives. So welcome, Josefina, and thank you so much for coming today.
Hi, Angel. Thank you so much for having me. Angel. You know what Angel means, don't
Angel.
you?
Yes, I'm Angel in Spanish.
Angel.
In Greek, I'm Angeliki. Angeliki.
Oh, beautiful. Oh my God. Take the Angeliki. I would love it. It's funny.
I love it too. I was like,
Yeah.
Shane, call me that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shane's like, I can't say that. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll work on it.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a rebranding coming up.
Yeah, Angeliki. Okay, thank you for coming on. And will you, just so everyone gets a feel for your energy before we really get a feel for your energy, let us know what your sun, moon, and rising are, if you know them?
Yes. Oh, I know them. I know them. I live by them. I keep checking my chart. Carrie is a really good friend of mine, and she did like this astrology chart for me 5 years ago, like fully detailed, and I keep on going back to it. It's just crazy. I keep going back to it. I don't understand 99% of it because it's so in depth,
Oh, God.
but I keep going back to it. Keep learning so much from it. I am a sun in Aries, sun Aries, moon Aries, Gemini rising, and Venus Aries as well. I always say that because I think of my business is Venus Aries. I feel like my business is like the heart of it is around
And I feel
my
like
Venus.
you are
So
very like, you give off a lot of Venus. Um, so to
oh,
have your sun and your moon and
it's
your Venus all be in one.
by the way. To be Aries and Venus is like complicated for that person.
Is it? Oh yeah, I guess. Right. And like for you, what what does it look like to have Venus in Aries?
So I didn't know. Obviously, I didn't. You with all these things, intuition and astrology and all these tools, human design. I I was dived into it, but I didn't know the depths of every single one. Like astrology, for example, only in the last 4 years I've been going deep into it, and I really like I studied and I did a few courses. But the Venus one for me changed the way I accept myself. I think astrology is really about that. It's about accepting yourself and having compassion for yourself because you just see yourself as you are. It's like it's in the stars in a way, the cliche of saying that. And it just gave me compassion for myself in relationships, in the way I behave, the way I feel, and it's not an excuse for being away. So like obviously there's the shadows and there's the light, but it just gave me more compassion for myself. And in this way, knowing myself better, I am better at recognizing some things and I can change them or like reflect on them. It's like, oh, okay, I close off and I get bored and I I want to change, and I want, like, I'm compulsive
Mm.
in relationships. I am like, I will just switch off and don't care. You know, it's like really an avoidancy, but I thought it was avoidancy, but then I was like, oh, it's actually my Venus, you know?
Ah.
So, so I feel for me, I'm talking about relationships now. I don't know why I got into that, but for me, it's just teaches me compassion and gives me a little bit of clarity in why astrology for me is very masculine energy. I don't know why. So astrology for me gives me a structure because I'm so up in the sky. I'm so like, I have so many ideas and so much creativity, and I'm like all the time like floating and creating. I'm all like, astrology gives me this like structure,
Right.
you know, to kind of be, okay, like, this is this way, and this is the reason why. There's an actual reason. There's a transit, there's a planet,
Right.
there's the
Yeah.
moon, there's the sun. It just gives me that safety of like mirroring myself in a way that it's real. It's not like just telling me what I want to hear,
Yes.
but it's just showing me all my shadows and my lights, and I can take them and say and look at them through truth in a way. It's like there's no. Astrology doesn't try to make you feel good. That's what. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
just like
It's just like
understanding
it's
yourself. It's just
perfect.
like almost like facts.
Yeah, this is right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, I don't know if that was the
Yeah.
answer that
No,
you were
I
looking
think
for.
Venus is a lot about how we relate to one another. And I think, having Aries and Venus, I could see how like the shadow sides might show up. Um, but then like to understand, okay, I've got all these planets on Aries. I like it almost like you said, it's not giving us excuses, but it is helping us understand why it might be one way for us and another way for someone else.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Okay. Okay, so only one icebreaker question, and that is, so this episode or this podcast is all about doing the inner work to have a life that aligns, that makes us happy, feel peace and joy. And so I'm curious to know what spiritual message or lesson you are currently working with.
Okay. I love that question. Bringing us into the moment. Currently, I am going through, like, my journey in the last year has been really about stepping more into my truth, and as coursey to say, as it sounds, it has really been happening through becoming very aware of the choices that I've been making throughout my life that were chosen from the wrong intentions, the different belief systems, and just like the conditioning. So in the last 10 years, I've been like peeling the layers of conditioning of who I am really at my core, and every layer has brought me closer to who I am. You know, it's like it's not that I was broken. I was just like hidden underneath it.
Yes.
So like
Yeah.
nobody's broken. We're just under all those layers. So I see us as like, yeah, onions, and then peeling all the layers, and then arriving to the core, and that's who we are. Like, it's not like we went anywhere. It's not that we're broken. It's not that we're changing even. It's just getting to the truth. Last year in May, I had an experience, and I thought that I was just like, okay, now I'm in this journey. I know who I am. I am like now coaching and teaching, and I have it all sorted out. I went a little bit into my ego.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm okay. Everything's gonna be okay. I don't need anyone. And then I had the experience that kind of showed me that I was not nowhere near to that, in the way that all these triggers start to show up. That taught me so much in a beautiful way. And right now, what I'm navigating is I am making this transition, and I know a lot of us are going through this. Okay, so a lot of us have been in the healing journey, especially everyone that's listening to the podcast, everyone that follows me, anyone that is this in this work. We have been for years doing this
Yes.
work in one way or another, whether you're teaching, coaching, or whether you're a stay-at-home mom. even if it was only internal. We have all been doing some kind of inner work. In a lot of women in silence, behind their closed doors, in their word of crying, whatever way they did, and some of them publicly. If you're not in Instagram, doesn't mean that you're not doing the work. Like, it's just like some people are more public, some people like to share their journey while they're doing it, and like to coach and lead others while they're in their journey. That would be me. And some people do it in their privacy and they kind of do it in a different way. But I think all women have been in some kind of a inner journey, and now we're all coming to this stage that we have done the work, okay, and we have filled those layers and we have made the choices, and maybe we have even attracted what we wanted. But there's this new door that has opened for me personally, and I think as I speak of myself, I know my clients are going through the same. This new door has opened, and there's this need and feeling for me to grip to the back. It's like I have this fear. It's like I cross the door and I'm there. It's like, if you can imagine, you're in Greece now, you
Yeah.
know, and I door and I'm there and I don't know what's on the other
Yeah.
side. I made the choice. I know it's in alignment, but I am seeing my mind play all these scenarios and tell me all these things. And I'm like, oh my God, telling me that's crazy. What are you doing? What if, like, the last 10 years you have been lying to yourself? You're crazy. So it's like but I can see that my mind is telling me all these things and bring me this fear to pull me back and to not let surrender to this new door that has opened that I already have stepped through. So it's not like I'm in the, oh, will I step in or not?
Yeah,
I'm
you've
in.
gone. Yeah.
And now it's like,
Now it's
oh,
like fear.
now I have no clue what's going to happen. And like, what's going to happen? What do I do? Like, now it's the logistics of like getting the insurance.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and I'm just thinking of you moving. So I'm kind of, that vision came. So I'm not moving, like I'm in the house. So, but yeah, at the moment I'm noticing how my mind is playing games with me and trying to take me to the fear and trying to completely reverse everything, even to as far as to tell me you should just devote yourself to the house, to your children, you should close it, like your Instagram account, stop coaching,
Yeah.
stop leading
Yeah.
circles, get out of the spiritual community. That is all toxic. And, like that, my mind is saying those things to me.
Yes.
So, and I know they're not true. So I'm recognizing it because they're all fears that have been imposed by others. It's not me. This is the people that I have been trying to move away from, that have been trying to suppress me and tell me that I'm crazy, that that I'm not good enough. So yeah, I'm navigating that right now. Like, it's really raw right now. That's literally in the last few days. I made some huge steps forward, and I'm so surprised with myself of how I want to grip to. I'm like, I feel naked. I feel like I want to. If you visualize somebody like falling, I want to grab into the building that I'm falling
Right.
from, and I want that all those people that were toxic and all the things that are familiar to hold me and take me in, and for me to just be the old person and just like, okay, let's just stay here,
It feels safe.
nice and
This
cozy
is
and comfortable.
safe, even though this
Yeah,
is not.
it's okay. I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't care about all this other stuff. Like, that's where I'm right now.
Okay. Okay. Oh, thank you for being so raw and sharing that. Because there's so much in what you're describing that I can see and that I can relate to. And it really, I keep saying it's this part that people aren't talking about, of what happens when you do the work and then you step through the door. Nobody talks about what's on the other side of that door. And a big earth thing that I'm seeing that's on the other side of this door is the ego going, how can I keep you like safe and small where you were? essentially. Like what like sneaky things can I say that are gonna touch you that are gonna trigger you enough to pull you back? And thank God that we have the awareness to see that that's what's going on, to see that it's like not our own voice, not a voice of clarity, but rather a voice that's just trying to keep us what we think, what ego thinks is safe, which is not what we want anymore.
Yeah, because we want to safety feels normal safety for people is knowing what's going to happen. So it's back to that control. And I see it as the universe testing me really. Oh, you think you have self-worth? You think that you love yourself? Here, let's test you.
Right.
Let's really. So, what do you want me to share? What has been really helpful for me?
I would love that. Please.
What happened this time, which it didn't, many times it didn't happen. A lot of the times, these are all transitions that had been maybe not this particular, but all of us through our lifetime, having in transitions that you pull back. You send the text. You're like, I'm so sorry. Can we forget about it? Like you act in that moment that you make a decision. Does that make any sense? You act and you change. You pull back.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, you do something, you say something, and then you're like, okay, no, let's let's fix it. No, let's change it. No, I changed my mind. You're right. Let's stay in this house, or let's do what you say you do. Because it's always connected around other people, because we're relational. So this time I recognize that. First of all, I've been doing so much work that I'm like, that's a waste of freaking time. I need to literally lose all my friends now because they know what the truth of who I am. So if they see me pulling back, they'll be like, what's wrong with you? So I knew already that I need to, there's a lot of people that would be worried. So I said, I just, in the moment that I was there, I was making the choice of literally, I know it doesn't make sense because I'm not giving you an example, but I think sometimes it's good not to give an example because the person can relate to their particular experience.
Yeah, I'm following you.
So in that moment that you feel that you want to go back into, or you feel cold and you feel the fear and you feel the uncertainty, you doubt yourself, your sanity, your choices, your ability to think straight. Is this the smartest thing for me, for my family, for the kids? Am I really doing it for them? Even if is it selfish to think of myself? Is it okay to follow my intuition, even if it's going to disrupt the people around me? And we have, as women, this people-pleasing wound that is really hard to detach from, and we want to make everyone happy around us, and we don't want to hurt others. So because I recognize that, and I know that I've been doing this for a long time, I just I called my coach. I sent a message to my coach, and I said, I really need a session today. I need a session today, or this week. And I connected with the people in my life that are pushing me forward. And even if I'm somebody that wants to process things on my own, and I'm a solo kind of processor, I don't go and talk to my friends. I need to do it again, and then I share it. I force myself to not, because right now what I needed and what we all need is to not isolate ourselves in those moments, and to bring in those people that are just pumping us up and telling us no, X, Y, Z, you're not crazy, and reminding you who you really are. And that's why community is so important. That's why sisterhood is so important, because we need to. Sometimes you're the one that's gonna lean on others. Sometimes you're the one that's gonna uplift the other person.
Right.
So we're gonna help each other all the time. So that's what I did, and it really helped me. And I didn't even know that I was doing it. And then afterwards, I was like, oh God, that's what I needed, because I was taking all this energy from people that were telling me that I was crazy, that 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 it's destructive for everyone around me, blah, blah, blah. I'll share the details at another stage. It's still raw, so I don't like kind of going into it. So yes, community and sisterhood and the people that support me, that really helped me. And I was like, yeah, we need to. I have a sister circle this Saturday, and I was texting the girls in my membership. It's like, you better show up to the live.
Yeah.
We all need it.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that that's thank you for sharing that, because I honestly hadn't thought of it. Because same, I'm very go through it on my own and then share it kind of thing. Um, Thank you. That gives me something to think about when those moments come up, because they do.
Yeah, yeah, and it's against. So I sometimes, we say listen to your feelings and follow your feelings, but I don't know how that is. I think it's we need to connect with our feelings. We need to process our feelings, but getting to know yourself, you can also connect with what you're feeling that is sabotaging you. So for me, going into myself and not talking and isolating is a pattern that I have because I'm distracting myself.
Mm.
So I knew that even if I felt like going inward, I felt like not talking to anyone, I felt like closing my Instagram account, I knew that I needed to snap out of it and do the opposite thing, even if it's so hard for me to do that.
Mm.
So text that person and like because I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk. I don't want to share with anyone. So like I had sometimes we need to when we get to know ourselves in that way that we know what's not good for us, then you act in a way that is kind of in the opposite way, so you can take yourself out of that
And also maybe
mindset.
like maybe it's not necessarily not good for us. For example, like I like working with my inner world is like a powerful part of my practice. But sometimes it's just good to notice when something's just not working. It's like, hey, that's not working. Maybe maybe
Yeah,
involve other people or whatever that happens to be.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm definitely not someone that say go and get advice from other people. I'm like, no, I would never say
Yeah,
that. It's
yeah.
more no, I'm like I tell my clients like don't listen to me. Like it's all about you. But the people that are supporting me are not telling me what to do. They're bringing me back to me.
Right,
So that's the support system that I have.
right.
It's like the people that are like showing me my truth and like they're mirroring and
Mhm.
they're like reminding me of like ask me questions. It's in a more it's not it wouldn't be like telling you what to do.
Understood. Yes.
So
And
yeah.
so this sisterhood, because I can see that like sisterhood and community is a big pillar in like what you believe in, your philosophy, the work that you do. Um, I know you have a membership, and therefore that automatically has like a community component. So what have you seen by creating a community of women to in your business and to help them heal? What have you seen? What's something you could point to that has created transformation through community? Like what's the power of community that you've seen?
For me, I think it's the most powerful healing tool that it's multidimensional again. So I was writing a message for the girls to encourage them to come in because a lot of us don't want to meet because we like going into our bubble and we need the connection. The sisterhood brings everything, like community, especially as women. I only work with women now online. I work in person with men, but I'm just like more. I decided to work only with women, and it doesn't necessarily mean in any situation, woman, men groups are also mixed. But being in sisterhood, particularly in with women, uh, heals the wounds that are the most important one for us as women, which is our sisterhood wound, our a wound of receiving. We don't receive, and when you're in sisterhood, you have to receive. The wound of not listening, and not holding space for
Mm.
others. So there's all these things in sisterhood that we heal that we don't even know we're doing when we are in a circle that is led by heart, that is obviously a heart center. We have a policy of no gossiping. I have like a ethos and I have ground rules that are very strict, not strict, but they're like we don't criticize anyone's beliefs, anyone's religions, anyone's political opinions. We don't bring that into the table. Everyone's welcome, but also like we need to respect everyone. So like it teaches us a lot. It teaches us how to relate to each other. It teaches us compassion. It teaches us like it's very uncomfortable, like it's very uncomfortable. A lot of people don't want to be in sisterhood, don't want to go to women's circles because they're uncomfortable. They don't want to connect with women. So we have learned as women to trust each other, to gossip about each other, to to put ourselves down, to like any interactions that I've had through all of my lifetime is like talking badly about a woman.
Mm.
And I felt it myself. And I have been the one also criticizing. I'm that person also. It's not like I didn't know. It's just a habit. So sisterhood heals that, which is an important path towards stepping into our radiance, because as we become more compassionate towards other women, we also become more compassionate towards
Right.
ourselves. So the moment that you stop seeing other women as threat and you start leaning onto a woman, even if you don't feel like sometimes, everyone in different spectrums, some of us needs more, some of us need less, but we're also different. So like in that way, we heal those wounds that are so important for us to be able to love ourselves, and to accept ourselves. And we lost that connection as women because we supplement that with coffee and chats and gossiping, and talking about superficial things and talking about others. So the conversation of our ceremonies as women change from sacred, from growth, from expansion, from caring for each other, for listening to each other, to talking about each other behind our back when one
And why do
leaves.
you think that is? Like why do you think so many have this sisterhood wound? Like where did the programming come in?
Um, I think the sisterhood wound started when we started to disconnect from our intuition. So, and that had to do with, obviously, if we go back to the suppression of us women as intuitives and as leaders in our tribes, leaders in our communities. And, like just the suppression of the divine feminine would be. Um, Definitely, I think it started there. And the need to be in survival mode. So we've been in survival mode much more than the last 50 years. Like even if we know there's a lot of talk about burnout and being in survival mode and autoimmunes, we've been in survival mode for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years. And the way we survived is by going against each other as women, and seeing each other as threats and disconnecting from each other, which is served the patriarchy,
Mhm.
definitely. I don't think it was ever intentional. I don't think, I know a lot of people say I don't think it was intentional. It's just the flow.
Okay, so Josefina, you just kind of like ooze femininity. You've got this like strong feminine energy. And I know that this community really wants to learn how to integrate more of that into themselves, or reclaim more of that, uncover more of that. So I guess my first question would be like, have you always been so strong in your feminine? Was that a learning for you?
Um, yeah. So for me, the connection with femininity was. I feel like there's different aspects of femininity. So the aspects of my femininity that I was kind of relaxed and want to be a mom and want to have children and detached from anxiety and the future and very present. That was something that I feel like I always had, but
Mhm.
I suppressed because it was criticized. So I feel like a lot of people have the journey of like being in the masculine and talking about that part, but they forget that if you go back to their essence when they were kids, we all had it are in different ways because we're all different. So it doesn't mean that you're not feminine if you don't have the need to have babies when you're 10, and if you don't,
Mhm.
you're chill. It has not. I don't think it has anything to do with feminine, but the original interpretations of what feminine is, of being more in that traditional feminine concept. I feel like I always had it, and but I was using it in the wrong way. So I wasn't empowered. I was like in my wounded feminine. Does that make any sense? And I grew up to like I'm the eldest of seven, and I literally didn't have a childhood. If I now after all my work and all that, I was never a child. I always took care of others, and it's not like I was imposed into it. It's not like I was forced into it, but I naturally took on the role of helping my mom with seven kids, and I loved children, so it's like it came naturally. But in the journey of me being really lost in my teens and drinking and like feeling very, very low self-worth, but all internally, never showing it externally. Never. Like I never showed my lack of confidence and my lack of self-worth internally. I always chose to be confident, even if I didn't feel. And there's a particular time in my life when I was 16, and I think we grew up, I don't know, like my generation, we grew up with Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, like the kind of the
Same.
movement of
Yeah.
sexuality, like it started that, like Sex and the City. So it started when I was 18, 19, this whole, in a way, over expression of sexuality. And I feel like I leaned into that just because I was lost in the other way of being feminine because it was suppressed around the areas where I was living in Croatia. And and I kind of lost myself in drinking. And when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, and going out and really being kind of like detached from my femininity in the way of I don't care and I'm confident, but I wasn't. It was just like an act. And when I was 16, I remember I was out in a nightclub in Croatia, in the coast, beautiful area, and I had these friends that were two friends of mine that were Croatian that were absolutely stunningly beautiful. And I'm talking about we're all beautiful, but they were like the at that age at 17 and 16, they were the typical kind of Angelina Jolie times 100 and tall models. And I was friends with them. I used to go out with them in nightclubs, and nobody would look at me. I was like there, the little Argentinian girl. And I remember in that moment deciding to that my value wasn't on my looks because they were so insecure about themselves, and the men were using them, and then they would discard them. So I remember being 16, 17 and being in that situation and seeing them, how aesthetically beautiful they were, stunning looking they were, and how their worth was like what she didn't get it. They weren't happy. They weren't confident. I
Yeah.
think that was my first experience of realizing that our aesthetic and how we are physically doesn't determine how beautiful you are, but it doesn't mean that I felt beautiful and that I felt confident. So I stepped into this role of like faking it and saying, well, it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to change myself physically. I am who I am. I'm going to love myself. But it was more a forceful self love. It wasn't really that I loved myself. So I was in that for until I was 21. And then I met the father of my kids. And I was traveling around Europe. I met him in Argentina, but I was before that I was traveling around Europe. And he was older than me, and we instantly went to have kids. And and he already had two younger kids, very young. So I kind of took them under my wing. And when I was 23, I was in a home, in a household with a baby, with two other babies. They were like 3.5 and 1, and pregnant with the other one. So they're very close in age. That's a story for another day. And and I kind of took on the motherhood. Like I was so happy. I was like, I took out the motherhood so happy because I loved it. I always want to be a mom. That was the thing that I want. So I stopped. Like when I was 21, I chose I'm not going to drink anymore, and I decided I want to have kids already when I was in Argentina with other boyfriends, but they were not, they were not the ones. So I went instantly into the motherhood, and yes, I was feminine in that way. Like, I was the feminine, and I had everything perfect in the house, and everyone was like, that I had patience with the kids, and I was doing the meals. Like, I was the perfect kind of housewife, and I fell into that role, and that was another me stepping into perfectionism, me stepping into people policing, and 10 years of doing that kind of led me to burnout because I was just
Yeah.
abandoning myself. So I was in my femininity, but being in femininity doesn't mean that you're happy. Like, sometimes we have an innate
Right.
feminine quality that it's externally seen as radiant, but it wasn't
Right.
internal. It was external and not internal. So I never felt radiant. I never felt
Mm.
happy with my body. I would pick myself apart. If I had one stretch mark, I would hate myself. And it was all internal. Nobody could see it. Nobody could see it. Nobody could
Right.
feel it. And it wasn't until I was pushing too hard my body, I was pushing myself too hard to have it all together, have the house away, have the kids in a way, be the best housewife, cook the meals, and be compliant to everyone, always adjust to other people's plans, always be the one
Mhm.
that, yeah, that's okay, not a bother. No, it's
Mhm.
okay. Yes, we have to go to this gala tonight or on Friday, and this many people are coming to the house on the weekend. You have to cook for 20. Yeah, and I'm like dying inside. But I didn't have the power. I didn't have the confidence in myself to speak my truth, to even know that I was living a lie, that I wasn't truthful to myself.
So, and this is what you mean when you said I was more in my wounded feminine, right? Wounded feminine being like people pleasing, putting everybody else first, nurture, nurture, nurture. Yes. Okay,
Yeah,
go on.
yeah. So when you're in your wounded feminine, you're doing things to please others and to get external validation. So everything that you're doing, we're not doing this consciously. There's no shame around this, and there's so many layers in our lives and so many parts of our lives that maybe I'm still in that wounded feminine. But when you're in your wounded feminine, your actions and your choices are made solely from the external input that you're getting, whether that's recognition, whether that's like getting something, it could be material, whether it's being loved, whether it's being accepted, anything, it doesn't really matter. But getting having a body that is pleasing to others, that people
Mhm.
can say, "Oh, you look great." Like how you're doing things. So when you're in a wounded feminine, the way you do things, the way you live life, is controlled by the external environment. So what gives
I
you
see.
happiness, it's not that you don't experience happiness, but eventually realize that everything that you're feeling, it has an expiry date because the expiration is on the approval of the outside or even your physical body, which we
Right.
age. So eventually your stretch marks you're gonna get more stretch marks, or you're gonna get more cellulite, or you're not gonna be able to
Mhm.
work out as hard, you're not gonna be as youthful. So when we're in the wounded feminine, we're filling our cup from external validation. When we're in our empowered feminine is when we are filling our own cup internally, and then we can be of service. So when we are in your wounded feminine, we tend to be people pleasing. It doesn't mean
Right.
a lot of people are afraid to step into their power because they think that they're not going to be able to be of service to others. They confuse the people
Mhm.
pleasing with being of service. When you're in your
Mhm.
empowered feminine, you are of service, and everything that you do has nothing to do, everything that you do for others, everything that you do for yourself has not really much to do with what you're receiving from that output. Going to the gym, yes, obviously you get a nicer body if you're more fit and you feel good in your body, but you don't go with intention of like getting that external approval from others. And the same in
Right.
relationships. In the same why you choose to go and prepare a meal for a friend that you know that needs it. You're not doing it because um, you want them to think that you're nice, or that your
Right.
friendship molded around that. It's just because you just want to. giving that regardless of them be appreciated or not. Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah, totally. Yep. And I love this, like, just like dialing it into this one motive of like being in your wounded feminine. Your motive is to get some sort of approval, external validation, to get some sort of thing from the outside.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a really, that distills it quite nicely. And so what helped you? I mean, I'm sure it's layers upon layers and it's a long, long process, but what helped you, can you think of a moment, a practice, a tool, a lesson, a teaching that helped you
Mm.
to move into more of an empowered feminine energy?
Yeah, I think for me personally, it was, I tried everything, and I fell into all of the things, like dieting and trying to change my body, spirituality, yoga, movement, nutrition, all the aspects that in a way are regulating you in some way or form. So for me, what I started doing is this thing of like auditing my life in a way. So it like not like a productivity checklist. So kind of really soft and really honest self check-in with myself, a self check-in with my energy, with my truth. Because most of us are walking around completely disconnected from our own rhythm, from our own center. So we're moving through this to the day just based on urgency. We're reacting all the time, and we by us reacting, we can't be in alignment. So we are nourishing ourselves even like from habit, from a habit, or like out of habit, or we're nourishing ourselves out of guilt, or like the idea that has been taught that this is the way it has to be done. We're not doing it. We're not nourishing ourselves from our intuition and from our self-love and our heart. We're showing up in relationships um, that drain us and that keeps us small out of habit, and also because we're not listening to our heart, we're not listening to our truth. So by me kind of having this kind of life, I call it an audit, but like a check in with yourself. Um, it's just asking myself questions. I kind of tend to always ask myself questions and check in with myself through my little practices. And it's not like I do like hour meditations, but just asking myself, like, in situations, am I performing here? Is this like even like a call with you? Okay, what am I our conversation? Am I performing here, or am I being? And like throughout your life, like any situation that you have, asking yourself, connecting with yourself, because that's what coaching is. When you pay a coach,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a coach as well, so it's like this is what we do. We
Yeah.
ask you questions, and you like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good coach will get you to answer the questions. We can do that with ourselves. So asking myself questions, checking in with my heart, with my soul. Am I living in flow, or am I in fight? Am I breathing shallow, connecting with your body? Like, how's my body feeling? Like, what's going on right now when this situation happened? How do I feel when I step into this situation, this environment, this space? Really, it's just like checking in with yourself and having those situations. And even in relationships, a really important question that for me helped me is this relationship performative, or is it safe? We perform without even knowing in relationships and in life. So like really,
Right.
I think like being really truthful with ourselves and having this like auditing ourselves and checking in with ourselves, with our heart, with our truth alone. And that's why we need time on our own, in our own silence, in our own presence, not on the screens, and just like checking in. And also when you're checking in with yourself, then also knowing that we live in different cycles. So how are the rituals or the practices that you're doing supporting your nervous system, or are you just like checking out a list? Are you meditating,
Mm-hmm.
doing yoga, and going to the gym and eating kale because it's a list that you want to check so you can say that you're healthy? Or do you really feel good in your body? Do you feel radiant in your body? So like it's just really about reflecting on your identity, like reflecting on your nervous system, on your energy, on the rhythms that you live in, particular to you individually. and your relationships and the time and how truthful you are with yourself. So it's just like, yeah,
Well, and I,
that makes sense.
well, it's such. I mean, doing an audit, checking in throughout the day, is sort of like what getting to know you, your energy, your motives is like. You know, like because a lot of people come into personal development work not even knowing themselves and their energy. And I'm sure back when you were you know in your wounded feminine, mothering, I'm sure you didn't even really know that. You're just living. And so this audit that you're describing is just like a good starting point of like how I get to know myself, my energy, my motivations,
Yeah,
my
and
so on.
every stage of your life is different. So that's why you are checking in constantly and readjusting and changing. As women, we're not meant to keep this structure. And this is the next 30 years. I'm going to go to the gym every day at 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and stay structured to this. Like, like who are you becoming right now? Where are you? What stage of you are right now? If you're in the mothering stage, you have young babies, give grace to yourself. And the most important part of you being healthy and you being radiant is not like you getting into the gym and doing cardio for 2 hours. It's you just checking in with your nervous system and listening to your body and connecting with your body. And it could be a walk, it could be uh, cycling, whatever is aligned with you. That's why we can't like
Mm-hmm.
rely on other people's ways of living. It's very important that you, like for me, the only way I feel radiant is doing my own thing. And I'm so different than other people. And there's other people that my clients like are aligned and feel alignment in different ways that I feel alignment.
Yes,
It's not about
totally.
my program and my way is the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it's like how can you get to know yourself, your identity, and what is
Mm-hmm.
your vision, like connecting with your like feminine body and your nervous system, your energy. What is your spiritual connection? What are you? Where are you? Like what is leading you forward apart from approval, apart from reward? What is like the journey? What's fueling you? And alignment, we talk about alignment so much, and people think, okay, like when you're in alignment, that's it, you're in alignment. It's like, no, alignment means that you're doing the hard thing, you're still doing like your yoga practice, but the choice and the fuel behind it is led by purpose, by
Mm-hmm.
by truth, by heart, and that's why it feels aligned. It feels aligned because
Right.
the intention and the kind of fire behind you, it has a different purpose than
Mm-hmm.
self-destruction, than perfectionism, than trying to fix yourself
Than a
constantly.
program,
That
than something
loop,
that was,
yeah, the
yeah.
loop of
Mm-hmm.
constantly trying to fix ourselves is a
Mm-hmm.
never-ending, exhausting path that lead us to burnout, to autoimmune disease. So, yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
I have
And
yeah,
as you're describing this, it's really how I've been approaching building my new life here. Um, I got a lot of earth in my chart. I do like some structure, some routine, but I've been very careful to like not just take what I was doing and plop it here. I mean, I know for certain that I am not in the energy I used to be in. So how I want my day to go is going to be different, and I can't really like cerebrally decide that. I just have to experience it. So I'm just like trying different things at different times of day, and I'm doing this check in with like, do I really want to have this to eat right now? Or am I like, oh, you need to get your protein and that's why you're eating it? And it's really like figuring out how to feed myself, move myself, how I want to approach work, how I want to connect with people again. Um,
yeah. The more you get to know yourself, the more your choices are in alignment with your truth self and what you need, your body, your soul, your mind, like all connected. So
mhm.
how you move through your day, it is a reflection of the choices that you're making. So as you're connecting with yourself more, as you're getting to know yourself more, as you change, like we live in cycles, you have to kind of reevaluate how and reflect on the values and the values that you have, that, and do your days align with your values and how you're coping also. So is it time structure with intention or urgency? Like there's nothing wrong with structure, but is it intentional?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And where's it? It's like asking the why question, like why? Where's that coming from? Is it because you know, are in fear, or is it because you're meeting your needs, whatever that happens to be? So,
Yeah.
um,
And the inability, as the need as women to always want to fix something, or like instead of fix, go into creating, and that will kind of bring in the answer. So one of the things that for me changed my relationship with my body and with food was realizing that the food the anxiety I had around food that I didn't know that I had, that I had to eat all these superfoods and all these macros. And I was like, I'm a health coach, so an integrative nutrition health coach. So I worked as a health coach, and I had to step away from it because it becomes so overwhelming, that you just become like this person that's trying to fix their food and control their food. And for some people, no. So it's just like, what are you fixing? Are you controlling too much a situation, a moment, a thing, like, and bringing joy and like pleasure and creativity into your everyday life, so you can move through the day in a healthy way, but also you're bringing in things that give you joy, which is easier to say than do. But you are now in an opportunity in your life that you can recreate yourself, and you're giving that opportunity. So instead of falling back into the rat race of like the habits that we have, that it's hard to step away, um, trying to reinvent yourself, but also realizing that you can't run away from yourself. So when you move country, you come to
yeah,
the
yeah,
realization that there you are, and nothing changed
yep.
internally. So it's really about you kind of reevaluating who you are and what life you want to live and what's stopping you from that. So that's where the inner work happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and for me in particular, and I can't speak for everyone's journey, but for me, that had to happen before. Like the sort of dismantling of the belief system that was driving me, I had to dismantle that before I even got close to this, because
Letting
I'm not sure
go.
I could have gotten here if I didn't dismantle it.
Yeah, there's so much letting go. It's like not spoken about in the healing and spiritual community and the self-development community. It's like all about letting go. It's like letting go is the practice. If you look at all the practices, it's not about adding. And that's something that I think I teach a lot in when I work with women. It's like, we're not adding, we are releasing. And then when you kind of have to, there's a stage in our journey that, and many, I think many, that we'll have probably many cycles of it, that you kind of have to let go of a lot so you can come back into a clean slate and see yourself like in a way naked, so you can say, okay, this is what I need, because you're a different person. So yeah. Oh,
Yeah. And with different letting goes, you are a different person, right?
yeah.
So it's like
Yes.
maybe you're letting go of these programs and now you're this person. And then 10 years later, you've got new programs that you're letting go of. And now you're, yeah.
Does it ever happen that you look at a picture of like 3 years ago or even 1 year ago and you're like, oh, that yeah, who's that girl?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. What do I want to ask? So many things. Here's what, okay. People pleasing.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm sure it's a healing, a trauma, a wound that comes up a lot in your work. I see
Yeah.
it all over the place. I see it in myself, of course, as well. Anything that you want to share around that will help people with their own people pleasing nature, tendency, all
Yeah.
that sort of thing?
People pleasing is a hard one because it's so deep rooted in our DNA in a way, and also it's ancestral, in my opinion. And right now we're carrying the feelings and the emotions of the suppressed generations that couldn't, they didn't have the luxury to not people please to survive. So
Exactly.
yeah, so again, like when I go into my work with ancestral work, it's like it's not really about blaming. We're not blaming anyone. We're not blaming our moms or our aunties, aunties, and great grandmothers. We're not blaming anyone. We're just observing. So what has helped my clients a lot is just doing like there's I think they do it in the constellation work, but literally observing at the woman in your life, um, and looking at all the relationships that they were in, looking at how they live their lives, who they are now, the ones that are alive, and how they're living their lives. And it's just like if you are a people pleaser, I'm 100% sure that probably that's in your family as well, especially with the woman. So what I tell them, what I did with myself, but also what I tell them, first of all, is like, it's not something that just goes away. It's something that you can transmute into being of service when it's healed. So people pleasing and being of service, the different thing is that people pleasing, you're just giving from an empty cup, and you're, like I mentioned before, and you're giving and saying things that maybe you don't want to do, using your voice in the wrong way, not expressing yourself correctly because you don't want to receive any negative input, or you want to receive positive, so you're in a way controlling. So a few things I have the 100 things that are coming to my mind. A few things that I learned about myself that helped me personally, and I always tell my clients, is people pleasing is controlling. So it's not, people pleasing is not oh, you're so good, you're you're just a people pleaser. That's
Yeah.
like, actually, people pleasing is a controlling behavior. We're controlling the environment around us, and we are controlling the people around us as well, because we're not being genuine around the way we're giving. So we're giving to get something, and it's not that we're like, if you simplify it, I'm going to be nice to you because I'm going to go out with a guy, and I'm going to be nice to him because I know he's going to buy me dinner. That's a very simple example. Or I'm going to send thank you cards because that's the thing to do. Even if it gives me frustration to go into the shop, and I hate doing it, and write the thank you cards and blah, like, and it's the thing to do. But I'm only doing it because I have to do it, and it's the thing to do. And what will they think if I don't do it? So first of all, that's one thing. Like, people pleasing is a controlling behavior. Secondly, people pleasing is a wound that never goes away, and it's transmuted. Sorry, I said that already. It's transmuted to being of service, and the only thing that needs to shift is: are you filling your own cup first, or are you giving from empty? So if you're giving from empty, if you're saying yes to something that you don't have time, because your nervous system is going to be like exhausted, or your body's going to be exhausted at the end of the day, and you keep adding into your bucket, into your cup, things, instead of like filling it with nourishment, you're filling it with to-do list, or you give it the energy to other people, then you're like, again, in that wounded. So you need to kind of shift the awareness around people pleasing being something that is not good, and being of service is amazing. And you don't have to not do things for other people. You don't have to have this huge boundary and go into, a lot of people do that. My clients come to me already kind of have healed the people pleasing in the wrong way by like just putting this huge boundary, not talking to their mom anymore, like saying no very harshly, like putting these walls. So like shifting
Yeah.
the way
Thank you for speaking to this.
yeah.
I think this is important.
Yes, so it, like, being more soft around the energy that you're putting into it, and taking responsibility for it. Like, don't blame other people for you being a people pleaser. Other people are
Right.
taking because you're giving, and you're need to take your energy back, and they need to step into your truth of the choice that you make. The choice that you're making is like, even if you're wounded, and even if you have limiting beliefs, and maybe you blame those on your granny, or the way you grew up, or your father when your mother when, it doesn't matter, or whatever trauma you have, still is your choice. Your choices are your choices. So taking responsibility for the choice that you are people pleasing, and owning it, by transmuting it into being of service. And there's a lot of inner work that has to be done here to nourish yourself, and be able to be of service. So there's a moment of pause, in a way, in between people pleasing and being of service, that you need to fill your own cup and get to know what is okay and what is not okay, and do it in a soft way of like just communicating and being honest, even saying this, like even like just sharing, look, I don't know, I feel like sometimes I do things not from the right place. I'm burned out. My burnt out. My body is just like exhausted, and I need to take a break. So I'm saying more no. Is that okay? And most people love
Yeah.
it, because you're giving them a permission to do it themselves, because most people are people pleasers. So when I put a boundary that is soft, and I express myself, I'm helping that person that is taking the boundary to put a boundary also, and to put a soft kind of guidelines for their own life. So you're setting the standards for yourself, but also you're expanding the people around you, because they feel like they can also set standards for the things that they do and don't do, and the choices, and they know that they're going to be loved regardless of them. So at the end,
Yes.
at the core of people pleasing, the one that is like, if you go deep into the core, is like the fear of not being loved
Yes.
and being rejected.
Totally.
So
Totally.
then what I would do is I would sit them with the feeling of rejection, and through meditation or healing, or like a practice, which is what we all avoid to do. So that's where the shadow work come in. And when we sit with the thing that we fear the most, is when we heal that thing. So because we don't die, we're there.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Meet
people,
the fear at the deepest level.
yeah.
Yeah.
So people pleasing is avoiding feeling rejection, and yeah. Does that give you? Obviously, I can go deeper.
Yeah. But I mean, that gave me so much. And I really, I appreciate the conversation around setting soft boundaries, because I think we all saw this. I don't know how many years ago this started to happen, maybe like 8 to 10 years ago. Boundary setting got huge. And I was coaching at the time, and I was helping people set boundaries, and they were really hard boundaries. When I think about it now, I'm like, that was no. And I think
Mm.
about some of the boundaries I started to set when I first started setting boundaries. They were sloppy and hard, and really like putting walls up. And as I've grown, I've started to like really sit with like, okay, how does one not people please, but also not have these like really rigid boundaries? Like there's somewhere in between that feels more loving, that feels more authentic. And I feel like you just really described it beautifully with this like sort of, you just kind of like share your vulnerability while you're doing it. You know, you're vulnerable while setting the boundary, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're honest.
The problem that a lot of people have, which that was my problem with people pleasing, is that I felt that everyone around me loved me, and like that was my identity. My identity was like, oh, Jose is just so good. She always helps, and she's so kind, and she can always fix a dinner for anyone, and they can come in, and she can do it all. And oh yeah, she'll collect the kids. Oh, don't worry, she's called Jose. So what what the problem is when people pleasing becomes your identity. That is the heartbeat to detach. And here's where you actually, it's an amazing thing to do, because again, letting go, here's where you really learn who is are the people that truly love you, and who are the people that are meant to be around you, and they're around you because of you, not because of what you give them. So, and
Right.
that's how you set boundaries. You set boundaries by stepping into your truth and seeing who's there, and who's there for you, and who's not there for you. You don't even need to do the boundaries, but it can create a lot of conflict, especially in a relationship, a romantic relationship where you share children. So it's not as easy as black and white. But if you start, and it can be ugly, and that's the part that nobody talks about in the healing journey, is that like people like will think that you're going crazy, people that you're mean, that you're selfish, and then you start getting all of that in your head, and you can be very lonely. So that's why it's, again, back to sisterhood. It's important to surround yourself with women and a community of people that love you for who you are, for being, not for what you give.
Full circle back to sisterhood.
Yeah.
And I feel like sisterhood right here, we're just technically meeting today in this podcast, but I feel like, I feel a connection to you and a healing that comes from that in this conversation. So thank you for exposing me to that.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking questions. What's your relationship with people pleasing?
Uh, it's been delayering over time. And I think that where I'm at now is really understanding the value of my energy. Um, and I like the way you put it in that when I'm fully nourished and I've really taken care of myself and filled my own cup, then I'm really happy to pour over and share that energy that people want. But I think where I was coming from before was that energy being so depleted. My energy was so depleted and people wanted it. And um, so that's where the healing has been to me, like to really like honor and value my energy in and of itself and do everything for it. And then it can pour over and be of service, and finding that balance, because I really did I want to have relationships. I want to show up for people and all that sort of thing. And I didn't want it to have to be one or the other. I wanted it to be both and. And
Yeah.
how do you get both and? Well, you fill up your cup, you love yourself, you nourish yourself, and then you can be in relationship, connecting to
Mhm.
others and giving.
Yeah, and also it's funny because I think people pleasing is, I think as a coach and you are intuitives and working with others and service to others in our work, in a way, people pleasing is what led me to do this work because I had the need to give, and it's just like how do you transmit that? Like it's a gift if you see it as a gift and you can use it in the right way. So you can use that energy of being of service, like in a way you're transmitting that energy of people pleasing and moving it into a positive thing. Like I have like so many clients like come with a flow that they have, and like I did a workshop back a year ago around how our shadows are gifts. So sorry, this dog is how our shadows are
I
gifts,
love it.
and it's the same with people pleasing. It can be uh, not everyone wants to give so much, and as women
Right.
also, yeah, and a lot of us who are doing this work have kind of been trying to heal the people pleasing um, and doing this work. So I would encourage anyone who is like looking at their people pleasing as something negative to instead of change it to use that energy into being of service and that the gift that they have of being of service and that they can do something good in the world, whatever way it can be, and transmute it. But but the most important part and the way you know you're not in people pleasing is when your nervous system and your body are okay and you're radiant, you feel good, like you're just
Right.
energized and you can't wait to invite your friends over so you can prepare this beautiful board and you
Right.
can invite them in and you're energized. You're not like going around bitter preparing all these things because you're exhausted and
Yes.
like then
Right.
so it's that energy.
That's a very clear distinction to me. That's very clear.
Yeah.
Okay, Josefina, you are radiant, and I don't know, just the way that you share is very, I can feel the experience of your wisdom.
Oh, thank you.
And how can people work with you? How can people connect with you, get in your space?
So the way that I've been working lately is mostly it's my membership. So I have a membership where we gather twice a month and we have a self-temple uh, holding and a self-led temple. So this means that we have live classes and also we have a library of yoga classes, health vault, and meditation and astrology updates monthly. So I put everything in the membership. So that's the easiest way to connect with me if you want to tap into the work that I do. As well as that, I do soul coaching, and I am opening a new program starting in September. So that's coming up for September. So I'm taking applications for that. Yeah, and Instagram is where you can see I share always too much in my captions. Like I have to kind of start writing a little bit less different topics.
She's a Gemini rising.
Sorry, yeah, exactly, yeah, and also like I'm always on my DMs, so I love like leading you to the right path. If you need any questions on what's best for you, I'm also I send people to other people also because I kind of tap into what they need. The membership's not for everyone. It's for a woman that are in that stage of their lives that need the embodiment part and need the woman's support, and they have a place where they can do their practices, their rituals, and then we can gather monthly and connect our intuition. And it's like very nurturing and expansive and light. So some people are looking for something else. So like I always like to connect and chat and lead them to what they need the best. But the membership is a good start.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I would say for anyone who's ever evaluating whether or not they want to work with someone, it's like, do you like being in their energy? And, like,
Yeah.
I've been following you on Instagram for some time. I see your content. I get a feel for you and your energy.
Mhm.
And I feel like this is the beauty of social media is that,
Yeah.
you can really like, you might not know them, but you can feel their energy through how they create, how they communicate, all that sort of thing. And so I'm sure people will know
Yeah.
just through that alone.
Yeah, and something that I always say, and I feel like it needs to be said more. Sorry, come on, come on. He was like, something that I would like to say is how I'm not. I don't like calling myself like a guide or like a even like a facilitator. There's something about sisterhood that I always go back to, which is like if you think of a woman's circle, a woman's circle is a circle, and there's no platform, and that's why I never like about like, the yoga classes that they put in this platform to teach. The beautiful thing about sisterhood and a circle and the rainfan community is like we are in a circle and we're all teaching each other things and we are all expanding and growing together. And I think that's an important part as women that we need to acknowledge is that we need to be in spaces that allow us to connect with our own intuition and connect with our own heart and stop telling us what to do and stop teaching us like methods or structure that are the one that are gonna be good for you. The most empowering thing, and you do the same, the most empowering thing you can do for yourself and for other women, if you're in this industry, is teach them how to connect to their intuition and to their own heart and their own inner guidance, so they don't need you. And
Right. Yeah.
what the membership is really yes, we tap into all of that, but also it's like your weekly connection with your heart and your weekly connection to your
Mm.
intuition. So you can remember, like you had a busy week, you had a busy month, but you know that on twice a month you have soul coaching and you have your sister circle,
You
and you're
check
gonna
in.
go into your heart. You're gonna connect with your nervous system, with your voice, with your relationships, with the way you're moving through your day, and have the practices in the membership. But it's so important that we know that we tap into our own power and that we surround ourselves with people that are also doing that and not taking our power away. So yeah.
Right. And that support that. Yes. Yes. And really, it's what you describe is, I think, where we're all headed. I think it's really like I've had this conversation a lot about intuition is becoming mainstream, because it is listening to ourselves, aligning with our soul. All of this is going to be the norm. You know what I mean? And so it's no longer helpful to just learn some guru's way. It's just to learn your own way,
It's
your
you
own
can't
voice.
like you are your own person. You can hear, you can listen, you can learn, you can take in information. Learning from is so important. You expand more by learning. But at the end of the day, you take the tools that you have and you make your own choice and your own decisions. And that's how you
Discern.
empower yourself, when you make your choices and you make the choices. That's how confident we become confident, not when somebody tells us what to do and we do it. When we follow
Right.
and trust ourselves and make a choice, and then it ends up being the right thing for ourselves. That's how we build confidence, and that's how we build self-trust. So you can lead
Yeah,
someone,
girl.
and but they'll do it and they'll be fine. But it's not the same as somebody that makes it from their own empowerment, from their own choice.
I hear you. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, and so much love to you. And you guys don't know, but behind the scenes, we've had a whole fun time of surprises.
That's lovely.
And I'm really grateful for you helping me navigate all that with grace and humor.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on, and Spirit Club. Until next time. Bye.